2024 is big for UFC fans, and the first season is stacked. We have three big title fights. We have Duplessis versus Strickland, Volk versus Tapora, and Chito Vera versus Sean Strickland. Before we talk about these fights, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as we have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, let's start with UFC 297. With sort of this crazy build-up between Duplessis and Strickland back in UFC 296, does this make you more excited for the card?
Yeah, I think so. More excited for the fight because we said a while ago that Strickland versus DDP doesn't sell at all. Yeah. But with this kind of thing, it draws more eyes to it. Overall, yeah, I'm more excited for this fight now. I'm always a big Sean Strickland fan, but now I'm chomping at the bit. I'm ready for this next event now.
Yeah, I agree as well, to be fair, because it just felt like with this fight, yeah, all right, yeah, it'll be fun, but I'm not that invested in it. But unfortunately, when things become personal, it makes it more exciting, doesn't it? And when you're getting this almost vile trash talking to each other, and sort of when you get this hatred between these fights, it does make it more exciting, doesn't it? And it's simply that fact, isn't it? We're not here to look for role models. I'm here to be entertained. That's how I'm looking at this, right? If they want to have a go at each other, let them do it. So right, super early predictions. Do you think Strickland's going to retain, or do you think he's going to lose to Duplessis?
I think he's going to retain. I think Strickland's cardio and his pace it's unmatched, really, against DDP. I just think, other than knocking out Rob Whittaker, DDP hasn't really impressed me that much. To quote Shania Twain, I don't think it's really. He hasn't stood out to me at all. Knocking out Rob Whittaker is a massive thing in your career, and it, of course, solidifies anyone a title shot. But Strickland, he's busier. He's always ready. He brings the pace, and he's just relentless with that pressure. I don't know, unless DDP gets off a big strike, I don't know how he's going to be able to cope. But do you think that Sean's going to retain?
No, I don't think at all. I think Strickland's going to have a very, very short title reign. I think it's going to be a little blip. I think Duplessis, yeah, we were talking about he's striking, but he's a fantastic grappler, and he's really, really strong. I don't think we're actually going to see much striking exchanges in this fight. I think Duplessis is going to get hold of Strickland, and he's just going to drag him to the floor. But you make such a good point, though. Strickland is incredibly active, and he's got a lot of experience, whereas Duplessis does not have that experience. So it's kind of one of those we'll have to wait and see. I think I'll have a proper prediction when we get closer to the fight. I'll really research it, have a good look. But for now, I just think Duplessis is going to win. And then in the co-main event, we have Pennington versus Silva for the vacant bantamweight title. My first question to you, Mark, do you even give a flying about this fight, right? It's just, who cares?
Absolutely not. I'm not. There's your answers, Dwayne. I can't elaborate on it. I don't give it. It's a nothing fight for me anyway. Well done, nice one. But we really need that solid, active competitor, that killer in that division again, don't we? It's just what's needed, and I don't think either of these two fighters are going to be able to bring that. I think it's going to be just a dull match, to be honest. And then so onwards as well. We need someone who's just been made in a lab. Come in, I don't know, Yoel Romero's sister or something like that. Needed to come in, start smashing everyone to pieces, rip the cage door down like China did in WWF, march on out. That's what we need.
Well, and that's the issue, isn't it? Like, I knew these guys were fighting, but until I was doing research for this video, I didn't know it was for the title. I genuinely just thought, why are these guys fighting and come in? I genuinely didn't have a clue. And that's the issue, isn't it? When you've got someone like Nunes so dominant, it just makes everyone look almost pitiful in comparison, doesn't it? You think, I just don't care. But maybe we might be wrong. Maybe now that Nunes is gone, this will let this division flourish, and we'll start getting excited about it again. But I don't think we will. Anyway, let's move on to our boy Arnold Allen facing off against Evlov. I think that's how you say his name. But with this Evlov guy, he's ranked so far down. I think he's ranked number 9th, whereas Arnold Allen's like, I think he's 5th or 6th, and he's one fight away from almost getting a title shot. So do you think this is the right fight for him to fight someone so low ranked?
It's tough in that division because you don't want to go into the rematch after rematch after rematch. I think it's a great opportunity for a number 9 ranked to take on someone like Arnold Allen, who has solidified himself. I'm excited for the fight because I'm always excited for Arnold Allen. But in a weird way, does this make sense? As much as I'm pulling for him, I kind of want the division to be shook up with someone new, a new contender. Maybe not at Arnold's expense though, because that'd break my heart. But you know what? You know what I'm saying though. I just want new contenders. Everyone wants new contenders. It keeps every division fresh. But I get what you mean. They're a bit, the distance between them and the ranking system. It's great, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, it seems too big a gap for Arnold Allen, and it seems somewhat to me an unnecessary risk. I think he'd be better fighting someone like Yair or Brian Ortega, someone like that would be perfect for Arnold Allen, and then we can get him moving up in that division because we'll talk about this in a minute. It feels like with featherweight, if you beat an old man off a loss, you'll get a title shot anyway. So Arnold Allen can certainly get up there, and I think it is a shame that he's going to do this fight, but I think it's going to be a fun fight nonetheless, and I think Arnold Allen always brings it, and he's got a little special place in my heart, and I hope he can do really well. But there's some other good fights on this card as well. Let me just pull it up. We've got Neil Magny, Dominic Reyes, tough winner Brad Katona, Chris Curtis, and of course, the love of my life, Polyana Vienna, the best female fighter in UFC history.
Yeah, look, there's some good names in there, and obviously, you get to see your future wife. You've got to get a divorce first, Dwayne, and then you can maybe marry her. That's the only thing holding you back, I'm sure.
I'm sure I can get it done. I'll figure something out. It's not a problem.
Yeah,
I'll kick an argument off tonight. No,
maybe that's it. I think, with the names in there, I mean, they're good for name value, but then when you look, like you said, Neil Magny, you got, a bit hit and miss. Dominic Reyes, he desperately needs a win, and to not get flatlined like he has done for the past 3 times. I shouldn't laugh through that because I do like Dominic Reyes, but
yeah, I do as
well. Maybe we'll go into that further down the line. But yeah, name value, it's a great start to the year.
Yeah, it really is. It's a fun opener, and especially now we were talking earlier with Strickland and Duplessis chomping at the bit, ready to fight each other. It just gives it that little bit of extra edge, doesn't it? So then let's move on to UFC 298. The king of the featherweight division, Alexander Volkanovski, is putting it on the line against Ilia Topuria. Mark, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but do you think Ilia should even be getting a title shot in the first place?
I do believe he should. Yeah, I really do. I think, the way that if we're going back, he battered Bryce Mitchell. He put on a clinic against Josh Emmett. It's a new contender. We haven't seen this fight before. He's undefeated. I think this is the perfect recipe to make for an exciting fight, especially against King Volkanovski.
Yeah. It's tricky for me because I don't think Ilia does deserve a title shot after beating an old guy coming off a loss. But the problem is Volk's battered everyone else, right? So there's no one else left. So Ilia is the only choice. He has to step up and he has to get that title shot. And I think he's very, very lucky that he's getting that title shot. But I can't complain about it. It's going to be a fun fight. So, Mark, let's go into really, really early predictions. What's your predictions for Volk versus Ilia?
It's easy for me to say Volk, just, thinking with my heart. But this is Volk coming off being knocked out in the first round. And we've seen how much it affected him in the post-fight interview straight after. Volk's one of the strongest minded people in the UFC, fighters, I should say. But you wonder if is he going to drag any of that with him into his next fight? You don't think so, but if there's a hint of doubt, I think Topuria is going to sniff it out like a shark that smells blood, and he's just going to be able to get, maybe even a decision win. But if Volk comes with the same mindset that he has done throughout his entire UFC career, I think it's going to be potentially another flawless victory.
Yeah, I'm on exactly the same path as you. I think with Volkanovski, I think for now you have to pick Volk, right? Until he gets toppled from the top of this featherweight division, he's the king, and you have to pick him. I cannot see any other way until it's disproved. But like you said, he's come off this KO loss against Islam Makhachev, and that's the worry, isn't it? Has he come out a bit too early from this fight? Is this now the beginning of the end? We see this happen all the time. Someone gets caught with one big KO and it's loss after loss after loss. And I really hope that's not going to be the case with Volk, but it could be. And Tapora is incredibly dangerous. So then let's say, look who else we've got next. And we've got Marab versus Cejudo. That's a fun fight. Do you expect the winner of this to get a shot at the title, Mark?
I think they definitely deserve it. Don't come at me that, Cejudo's coming off a loss and all this kind of thing. He was the king, he was a double champ simultaneous. Marab, he's done enough to secure it. Firmly believe that, but obviously that was because he's good pals with Aljamain Sterling. Now he's out of the way. This does clear for a good title shot. It's a good eliminator, and whoever does win, I don't think anyone would pull the face at them getting a title shot, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has to be, right. This has to be a title eliminator. It's two guys at the top of the division. Winner of this gets to face O'Malley or Cheetah Vera, depending on who wins. But Mark, what's your very, very early predictions for this fight?
I'm gonna go with Marab, to be honest. I think Cejudo in the Aljamain fight, after 3 years off, he just looked a step behind what we were used to seeing, and don't forget he's getting a little older now. He's in the lighter divisions. Speed's one of the first things to go. Maybe that's why he just looked just one step behind. I wouldn't say slow at all, but ring rust is a real thing. But he held his own against Aljamain Sterling. But Marab, I think he's a different kind of fish. I think he maybe even could finish Henry.
Certainly possible. And I think I'm going with Marab as well. I think what's going to happen with this fight, we're going to get the classic grappler versus grappler turn into a kickboxing match. I think they're not going to grapple with each other because they'll just neutralize each other. And I think Marab's going to have the physicality to put it on to Cejudo. I think he's going to be faster, younger, physically stronger, and probably a slightly better striking. So I think he's going to maybe get it done, maybe even finish Cejudo, which is a shame because I love seeing Cejudo, and it'd have been fun if he'd have made a great run on his return. But unfortunately, he took 3 years out because he was too greedy and wanted a big pile of extra cash and sort of overvalued himself a little bit. But talking about greedy boys, Mark, we've got Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura, the big heavyweights going at it. This is a really, really fun fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. But Mark, with Tai Tuivasa, he's now on a 3-fight losing skid. If he loses this fight, do you think there's any dangers of him getting released?
I think there could be, because it almost seems like that the buzz around him has not gone, but it's nowhere near the amount that it was. In his last fight against Alexander Volkov, a lot of people wasn't even aware that he was fighting.
Yeah.
But you see the sort of not fall from grace, because I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I think Ty could be in danger, really, if he does lose this, because Ty didn't, he shouldn't have got out as far as he did. On paper, he definitely shouldn't, because there was early talks of him like, if he keeps going and he keeps knocking people out, he could fight John Jones. And you're like,
it nearly happened. It nearly did happen. He was so close to finishing Garn. We could have seen John Jones versus Tai Tuivasa. It's still wild to think we were so close to getting that fight. And I think Ty's in that same sort of boat as Derek Lewis, isn't he? He'll come out, get some amazing fun finishes, and then goes on a bit of a bad spell. And I think because Ty's so entertaining, I think he'll have to lose 2 more before we can see him get released. But I think if he can get a win here and then, string a couple more together with some lower ranked heavyweights, I think he'll be stuck around for a while, because with the heavyweight division, you need these big fun fighters, don't you? And I think, Ty fits that mold perfect. Whether he's winning or losing, he's still entertaining. We've also got Suarez versus Amanda Lemos on this card as well. I expect if Suarez wins this, she'll likely get a title shot. It's probably looking like we're going to get Yan Xianan versus Zhang Wei Li for the title now, because I'm not sure who else would be the contender. But Mark, 298 has 3 big fights, I'd say, on the card. And it's a little lackluster compared to the other 2. We'll go on to 299 in a minute. Do you think we'll get anything else announced for this card, or do you think that's kind of it? It's going to be set in stone now?
No, I think we'll get more announced. I wouldn't care to hesitate a guess as to what fight specifically that we're going to get, but especially close to the fight, Dana's great at that, whether you love or hate him. I personally love him, but he's great at pulling things out of the bag, and there's occasionally ones that he just slides on the card and you're like, oh, you're pleasantly surprised by it, and it just makes you look forward to the card even more. But what do you think? I don't think they're just going to leave it as that. There are some cards that are known to just be extremely top heavy, but I think now with the way that the divisions are going, it's almost like the super fights up and down the card. On paper, sometimes it's evident that they aren't actually that great, but
yeah,
let me dream.
Yeah, I think we're going to get something else announced for this card. I think because if you look at 297 and 299, which we'll talk about in a second, they're very big cards. Whereas 298, it's got 2 fantastic fights on it. Cejudo Marab and Volk versus Ilya. But I feel like it needs something a little bit extra. Maybe we could get like Whitaker versus Hamzat or something like that. I'm not sure. But again, there's UFC 300 as well. There's a lot of spinning plates here, isn't there? So, but yeah, I think we can get a couple more fights announced for this card. Some nice, big, juicy ones. But let's talk about UFC 299. We have O'Malley versus Chito Vera. Like I asked before with Ilya, do you think Chito deserves this title shot?
I don't think he necessarily deserves it at all, really. I don't think he's done enough. He's been a bit inconsistent. There are other people I think who deserve it way more, but unfortunately, Sandhagen's injured.
Yeah, I agree. That for me would have been the perfect fight. Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. 2 tall, lanky guys putting on probably a fantastic kickboxing match. I'd love to see that happen. But, with Chito, no, he doesn't deserve the title shot. But when you look at it, though, he was kind of the only guy available because Aljamain went, no, I don't want to fight just yet. I want to take some time off. Marab said, oh, no, I want Aljamain to get the shot. Corey Sandhagen was injured. Cejudo was coming off a loss. So then Chito Vera was the highest guy coming off a win. You think, well, if all these other guys aren't available, even though Marab and Al just shot themselves in the foot now, and clearly Marab was available. I don't know why he said he wasn't. But whatever, it is what it is. And now Cheeto's getting that shot. That's the thing. The UFC does not wait around. If you're not ready to go, they're going to go with someone else. And this fight's fun, though, isn't it? It's got a lot of history between these 2 guys. It's Sean O'Malley's only loss. So that comes up with a lot of story. And I think that'll sell the pay-per-view quite well. But we've got a lot of other fights on this card as well. So I think this could be a big, big pay-per-view. But Mark, what's your early predictions for Chito versus O'Malley?
It's hard to go against Sean. You look at what's happened between both of them since their first fight. O'Malley's been on a knockout after knockout, except for Piotr Jan. And Chito's been a little inconsistent. As we've stated before, he famously doesn't get going until the later rounds. I don't think O'Malley's going to give him that chance to get to the later rounds. I think he's going to land big. He's going to land early. And I think it could even be a first round knockout because O'Malley likes to come in and I'm not going to try and shadow box because there's nothing more cringy, but he keeps doing, like when he does like the kind of movements. I know that sounds stupid to say when he like kind of shutters like this. Yeah. I think Chito's going to fall for something and he's going to fall hard and O'Malley's just going to crack him.
Yeah. I think you've got to pick O'Malley in this, haven't you? Because sure, I know Chito's beaten before, but that shot's a 1 in a million, isn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. If Chito comes out and he does it again, fair enough. Hats off to him. He's amazing. But I think you're right. I think Chito's too inconsistent. And O'Malley's not an old man who's going to get caught in the third round and knocked out, is he? He's fast, he's quick, he's young, and this is going to be a 5-rounder. And we know how slow Cheeto is. If Cheeto is slow in this and loses the first 3, it's too late. He can't pull it back now unless he gets a big knockout. I don't think he's going to get that knockout, because even when you look at that last fight, when O'Malley was only on 1 foot, he was still piecing Cheeto up until he overextended and fell on the floor. So you think, I'm not liking Cheeto's chances in this, but maybe I'll eat my words. We'll have to wait and see. But Mark, something that got announced back at UFC 296 on the press conference, Dana White nonchalantly announced MVP making his UFC debut against Kevin Holland. Is this a banger of a fight or what?
Yeah, this is huge. This is massive. And I don't think there's anyone who could welcome him to the UFC better than Kevin Holland. MVP, obviously. You forget about the British bias, though, don't you? Because Kevin Holland, you can't dislike him. I love the guy. Yeah. And I just think this is going to be an all-out war. I can't lie and say that I've watched every single one of MVP's fights because I don't really watch much other organizations than UFC because I've got a life. But there's too much. There's too much, isn't there? You just be sat there constantly watching TV. But there's, I think that MVP on paper, this is one of those where you think this could really, really be fight of the year contender. They both bring it. Kevin Holland surprises me every single time he's in the octagon, whether it's his pace, cardio, his knockout ability, or his submission skills. And we all know that MVP, what he's capable of doing to other top competitors.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's going to be a fun fight. And I'm like you, Mark, as well. I haven't seen all of MVPs of fights because, like you, I only really watch UFC and the other real combat sports, WWE, the number one MMA promotion.
Very different MVP that was in WWE, by the way. Very different. Don't get the two mixed up.
It's not.
I wish he came out to his music.
Right.
I wish he came out to his music.
That would be good. Maybe he will. It'd be good if he did. But I tell you what I'm really, really excited about. JDM is stepping up in competition and he's facing Gilbert Burns. What I find so interesting is say you've got Shavkat and Ian Gary, probably bigger names than JDM now. But JDM's fighting a bigger name and a bigger prospect. Do you think that we could see JDM moving up to a title soon if he can beat Gilbert Burns?
100%. Gilbert Burns is there for a reason. He's nowhere near a gatekeeper. He is a solid competitor who almost beat Kamaru Usman when he was in his prime. And if anyone can beat Gilbert Burns, they deserve a title shot, apart from Bilal Muhammad. But, it's just, I think JDM is hungry. That's it. And, he wants to prove that why he's here. And what better way to do it than to knock off one of the top contenders in that division? Gilbert Burns is an absolute killer.
Yeah,
really this has got dream fight roll over it as well. This could be a banger.
Definitely. I think it's a fun fight, and I'm so glad he's taking these big risks. Where you've got Shavkat beating up Wonderboy, you've got Ian Gary looking to fight. Who's he fighting? I can't remember. I think it's not Neil Magny.
I think it's his wife's husband. I
think. Right. Well, Ian Gary's going to be fighting Jeff Neal, I believe, Mark.
Okay.
But again, it's not the big risk that JDM's taking. These guys are fighting much lower ranked guys. And I think, come on, step it up, go big. And if JDM gets this done, I want to see him moving up in that title picture and real quick. Also on this card, let me just pull it up. We got Song Yudong, Piotr Yan, Dalton Almeida, Curtis Blades, Gamrot, RDA, Jeff Neal, and Ian Gary. This card is bloody stacked. Which fight, Mark, are you pretty looking forward to the most out of those I've just read out there?
See, I just in the names that you've read out there, I think it's Jeff Neal. I'm always keen to see. I'm always keen to see Jeff Neal because, the nickname is there for a reason. Curtis Blades, I love seeing him as well. I'd love to see him get back into a win column. This could be potential. What's scary, though, Dwayne, is this is UFC 299. They are one off. They're massive pay-per-view. They're huge, all or nothing. So you think, if there's that many massive names on this one, who are they going to have in the next? We're kind of spoiled. you
Yeah,
know,
we're really, really spoiled. And you bring up such a good point there because UFC 297, 298, and 299 are so stacked. I'm just not sure who's going to be on UFC 300. It feels almost like we're running out of names. But if you're interested to see who we think is going to be on UFC 300, wait till the end of this video and click the link where Mark and I fantasy book that card. But thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.